Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I love the small setting of the room. That makes me less nervous. And yes, it's a tough call to keep you all awake, but I'm very happy if you stop me in between, ask me questions, also keeps me awake. Also, the nervousness will keep me awake. I hope I'm pretty audible. So, I'm from Rainforest Alliance. Why I'm here is because Rainforest Alliance works through our certification scheme with the producers as well as at the buyer's end. Buyers means a lot of companies. We want to bring in the company's perspective, but we haven't yet touched the consumer's part, right? We still don't have enough connect with the consumers, and we do believe that it's a big elephant in the room which cannot be worked upon by one stakeholder alone. Rainforest Alliance has alliance in its name, right? So we do work with different stakeholders. We want to work with different stakeholders, and it may not always be easy, but I think we are getting into a space where everybody acknowledges the importance of collaboration. And I think that's something which we will try, and I will try and dwell a little bit more deeper as we talk about how do we get private sector to drive consumer behaviors. What does the consumers look like? I would also like to touch upon a little bit of some of the trends that we have been seeing as Rainforest Alliance through some of the market survey studies we do, we have been doing. And also I'll briefly touch upon one of the studies we did jointly with the Center for CRB, Responsible Business. See, look at the nervousness, Rijit. With the CRB. And I'll just very briefly touch upon those slides so that I can give you a bit of an idea of how does the Indian consumers that we looked at in a quick survey that we did in some of the coffee shops. Why did we do that survey? Also, I'll touch upon that a little bit. But before that, I don't think many people know about Rainforest Alliance, especially in India. And that's what I wanted to touch very quickly, won't bore you a lot. Our certification scheme is better known, which includes tea, coffee, spices, also fruits and vegetables. I was very happy to see some of the Alfonso mangoes are certified, which means that they have somewhere an export market to it. It's a market-driven mechanism which drives sustainability. Our standard looks at environment, social, and economic, all three pillars of sustainability, like child labor, forced labor, wages, minimum wages are being implemented correctly or not. All of that are a part of our certification program, but again, driven mostly by the exports. So if tea is 20% exported, 80% domestically consumed, you would see typically 20% being certified and claimed as Rainforest Alliance certified because the buyers are creating that demand. And the consumers sitting in the US and Europe are creating that demand for the seal on their pack. And you can see the seal, the frog logo that we have there. But in addition to certification, very quickly, we also work at the landscape level, where we do see that not all systemic issues in sustainability can be resolved through certification program, which is why we look at landscape level interventions, which again brings us back to working with multiple stakeholders, looking at it's more of a bottom-up approach. We have a flagship project in India recently, where we are working in Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka, two regions, through the Global Environment Facility Funds 5-year project, where we are trying to drive sustainable agriculture in these landscapes. Until now, I'm not talking about consumers, right? And that's because our certification is still market-driven. But where is the market? And that's the key question which we keep getting from most of the time our buyers, that who pays for the costs of the high costs of production which are happening. And I keep taking the example of tea because tea is really one of the sector which is facing real climate change issues. The sector's viability is getting affected. They are seeing more and more pests and diseases. And most of the time, because of that, they are using more harmful chemicals. There's a lot of compliance issues. You name it, and the challenge exists in the tea sector. But when we talk about shared responsibility, that we want buyers to also share the responsibility of sustainability, because they are the ones who need sustainable tea, for which producers are, getting all the costs up. Are they willing to pay better prices? And most of the time they are not. Most of the time the buyers put the blame to the retailers. Retailers talk about consumers. Are we really talking to the consumers yet? Maybe not. And maybe this is the right time to bring in consumers. Although I wouldn't want to put everything on the consumers' shoulders as well, to say that consumers are the ones who are going to make the big shift happen. But I think a lot can be done. And we have had many conversations with big companies who are a part of our certification program. And we have talked a lot to the producers who are also a part of our certification program, which uniquely puts us in a place where we can bring the two together. Are we able to yet do that? Probably not. Going back to what we do, we have a global reach. As you can see, we have currently, through our certification program, more than 5.7 million hectares of farmlands. We work with more than 7,500 company partners. But are we able to really bring that shift for even half of them? Maybe not. Maybe very handful of these companies are very strong in terms of their sustainability commitment. And what exactly is the real challenge for them to make this shift is what I want to discuss openly with all of you. I don't think I have answers. And I think in most of these conferences and roundtables, we generate so many questions. But do we have answers to those questions or not? This is what I think is important for us to also take as a follow-up action. And because EEW is a think tank, you do a lot of policy-oriented research. And I would say that probably that's one of the key questions that we need to have as a takeaway from these conversations that we have today. We are in more than 60 countries, and we work, as I mentioned, as an alliance with more than 60 partner coalitions and platforms. So if you look at this slide, it would appear as if, my God, Rainforest Alliance has a lot of influence. They can make a lot of change. They can do a lot of things globally. But I think we are also struggling. And I'm very honest. I have a very honest confession that in India, our seal is not or has not been very widely known. Rainforest Alliance as a name may still be known, but the seal, when you as a consumer are going to the retail market, do you see a product? When I was being interviewed for Rainforest Alliance, I thought, my God, Rainforest Alliance is going to interview me. Let me get myself something, some tea in the market that I can, claim or say in the interview that, oh, I'm actually using. I couldn't find anything. So that's the challenge, which we could say it is the retailer's challenge who don't want to put certified logo on the pack, or the retailers would say the consumers do not want it. But do the consumers have that level of awareness or not? Has the government made enough efforts to raise that level of awareness? Is there a role of CSOs to play in it? CSOs alone cannot do it. How do we bring them all together? It's very easy to say in different conferences that, everyone has to come together. No one alone can do it. And I also have been I keep talking about it in like more than 2 years, 3 years of whatever public appearances that I do. But I've realized that I'm tired of speaking about it. And I'm trying to make some connection on the ground. If we are able to even bring 3 CSOs together in one geography and make a difference, I think those are the success stories that we need to bring to these conferences now, where we say, how did that work out? What were the challenges and how did we overcome those challenges? So I hope that I have those stories to say. I do have actually, but that's not a part of this discussion today. but I think it's a challenge. It takes 2 to 3 years to bring consensus among different partners on one common goal. So it's not easy, but I think this is one important role or direction that we need to move forward with. Moving on, we tried to do this kind of survey globally, as I mentioned, but we also now recently, and you would see in front of India, it's new, because this is the first time India actually came into this graph. Being a global organization, that's also sometimes a challenge. How do you position India when there are so many other, more than 60 countries in the same organization? And I'm very glad to say that the awareness of our seal in 2023 is strong and growing, not just globally. And you can see that UK, US, China, Germany, Netherlands, all of these countries, there is a lot of awareness among consumers. But also in India, 33% is there. And there's no reference to check with because it's coming up for the first time. We also try to see how well our, and this is again, India is not represented here, but what is the love for the brand? If I go for purchasing tea or coffee in a supermarket, do I actually look at how sustainably this particular product is being consumed? Maybe I want to, but maybe I don't know, or I don't have that skill set, or I don't have that awareness. I'm not really sure if it's the lack of storytelling at the retailer's end, at the cafe's end, because sometimes we are also trying to work, and Bhavit is here from our markets team, who has had various discussions and meetings with different companies, and that's the challenge and frustration that he faces in different meetings. How do we get a business case to the companies? What is the business case for companies to put the seal on the pack? Because the moment they put a seal on the pack, there is a premium which they have to pay for that certified product. And that comes at a cost. And are the consumers willing to pay that cost? Well, we tried to look at some of the impact from our certification program, also to see, are the consumers willing to buy the Rainforest Alliance certified products? Again, in India, do we have India here? Yes. We see about 72%. Actually, it's the highest among all. But does this slide make businesses take a different choice, a different pathway? Maybe still not. What exactly do they need further if these results and surveys are not able to make that needle move? We also tried to look at India, because we realized that India is now emerging as the consumer consciousness is getting better. We have more, and well, I think till last year we used to say COVID has made a change. But now I'm very sorry to report that people are going back to pre-COVID times. They are not making those kind of healthy choices. I was in one of the North America tea conference last month, and they were saying all the herbs because a lot of herbs element also go into tea manufacturing, and the herbs production had gone up, but now all of that herb is back into the warehouses because people are not buying the herbal teas anymore, which was really shooting up at the time of COVID. So the consumer behavior is also very dynamic, which changes from time to time. How do businesses make sure that they are making their decisions through those market surveys, which is able to capture those changing behavior of the consumers? That's one of the big questions. And I think that's one of the uncertainties or a bottleneck for businesses to make that decision, because there's a lot of uncertainty around that as well. As per this survey, which we did, and this is still not published, but when you rate from the brand love, which we wanted to see how much do the consumers look at Rainforest Alliance as a brand, the score was pretty high. It was 7.4. We tried to look at what is the likelihood for these consumers to actually purchase certified products. And here you can see that more than 75% of the consumers are likely to buy certified products as well. So this is again a very good business case for the companies in India. Very quickly, they trust Rainforest Alliance as well. I'm talking about Rainforest Alliance because we do this as part of our survey, but I'm sure there are other sustainability organizations also who are doing those kind of surveys, and it's important for all of us to come together to bring this story to the companies so that they are able to make that change to bring better consumer awareness. The purchase intent, of course, the purchase intent and the final decision that is made could be different. But here again you can see that if the prices were same, or if I were to pay a little more, there's not much of a change. I mean, this intent definitely shows that market price is probably, consumers are not too sensitive about it. But I think we all know and understand that it is a very price sensitive market. But this is what this particular survey is reflecting. So with full disclaimer, this is only coming from most of the surveys which have been done for India. Very quickly, we thought that this is all done globally. Some surveys are done through remote surveys. The earlier studies which I reflected on the graphs were still coming from a remote area. We looked at physical interviews which were conducted by CRB, Center for Responsible Business, and RA together. And we looked at attitude, awareness, and behavior of the consumers. And you can see that the willingness to pay is again standing out as a very good number. A fair amount of consumers are willing to pay. And you can also see that they are also willing to be an ambassador for sustainability in all the cities that we did the survey. If you want to know more about this survey, tune in for tomorrow's session at IDH Sutra. Because CRB is going to present more on that. I just wanted to give a quick recap here that there are some very good positive results for the companies. And that is all that we as Rainforest Alliance could do. But I think there is a lot more which can be done when different stakeholders, where CSE, education institutions, different organizations can come together to influence the consumer behavior. I do strongly believe unless the consumers demand for sustainable products, the companies are not going to make that shift. And for them to make that shift, it's really necessary. I think I would quickly end with, this is my last slide, maybe some key questions that could be looked at. What we have seen as working with the producers and the consumers together, producer livelihoods depend on the prices. Prices are not coming back to the producers. Most of the time it is on to the other side of the other extreme side of the value chain with the retailers. Is there a room for better conscious consumer behavior? How could businesses bring these consumers onboarded? Maybe it's not only businesses' responsibility to do that. Maybe all of us can make that shift together with them. We try and talk to different businesses and say, you have a promotion budget. We don't have one. But can we help you with our material so that we can jointly do the promotion so that consumers are aware that there is a sustainability product which is in the market that is available? Is there a need for action-oriented research aligned with the industry needs? And how could CSOs mediate, convene the industry and government? Government has an important role to play. And maybe once all of these stakeholders come together, then we can probably make that shift. With that, I thank you very much for your time and attention. Thank you.